were married in 1977.
So 77. And by that time, what's your role at the hospital?
I was the accountant at that time.
Okay. And when did you become director?
Well, I worked in several, quite a while actually. I worked in several, I had been the accountant, and something happened to a person working, one of the nuns who was working in human resources. So Sister Jones said to me, how would you like to do that? Take that over. And I said, sure. So I did that for several years. And then we had several projects that came up. I guess I was still the director of finance when the Pope's visit came along. And so one of the, yes, I was director of finance. And one of the opportunities that came up was for PGH to be the host hospital and to assume the leadership of the health and emergency services and the special needs for the Pope's visit. So I was allowed to do that for a year, and the Ministry of Health paid for it. So I hired Carol Lambie to be director of finance, which was another stroke of genius, another stroke of sublime good luck. So I did, I worked on that for a year. That was most exciting.
Yeah, that was quite a project for the community. Yes,
and it was like it was an international event.
Yeah, for sure.
And talk about being an experiential learner. What you didn't learn as part of being part of that was, to work and meet with media and do things that were going to be an international event. And one of the things that's big now, rightly so, is the whole sphere of risk management and how that has blossomed because of the complexity of our society and complexity of work and so on. And I was thinking about that yesterday. I thought, my goodness, when you look at all the opportunities you have, doing that work with the papal visit was very important. When you hobnob with the cardinal, and not really, but you know what I mean. We were good friends with the director of the papal visit. We were good friends with John Barrett Hamilton, and all the things that you're exposed to. But risk management, I say even now, like what I learned about risk management, I learned from the RCMP. Now, how much better can you get than that? And what they did, and the big lesson being, what they did mostly beforehand, not after. That's the risk was staring you in the face. You better deal with it. Better deal with it beforehand.
And yet it's it's fascinating. The Pope, coming out of St. Marie, put his hand on top of a steel fence post. And I guess in driving the fence post down, I just happened to watch his hand got ripped open.
Really?
By that little piece of metal. And you talk about risk management. He then went up to the shrine and took it easy, but I always wondered what became of that wound and how that would have affected his trip. Probably not nearly as important as watching him undergo that little wound.
Right.
But, you can never plan and be perfect on everything.
No, that's right. Never saw it though. Never saw any evidence of it.
Yeah. When did you become the director of the hospital?
I became CEO in about 1989, maybe. Yeah, I wasn't director that long. Yeah.
But you were very much a part of the management team.
Yes.
For the success of that hospital.
Yes. In fact, one of the things that really happened in the hospitals, well, not just hospitals, in the organization, really happened before that, around 1985, when the sisters were realizing that they were, their numbers were not going to swell, and they began on a journey of identifying what their I mean, they knew what their charism was. Like, they lived a life of simplicity.
Yep.
And of service. But they realized they had to write down what they were all about, because previously, people would come to the hospital and say, what is it? Like, what's different about? What is it? And we'd say, I don't know, you have to be here to know what it is, And it was, when the sisters came, like, they just didn't come. They brought like 350 years of pioneering healthcare and sophistication. Like, they brought 300 years of experience with them. You tend to forget that,
The Grey Sisters had a tradition.
It was the Grey Sisters, yes, the Immaculate Conception. So we, from that work, we set about to discern what the values were for the hospital. And it was a big process that we involved everybody in. And that was a big piece of work that we did. And people we're small enough, and it was, one thing to do it in a small hospital and do it in 1,000. But nevertheless, we came up with our values. And one of the things that was important, and I'll just show it to you, we came up with the logo. You might remember seeing it. Which was to serve, to love. That people, those of us who were there, really saw that it just signified, it illuminated what we were, and so that was a really high moment, I thought, that we were able to solidify everyone that was there, and so that was one of the highlights, really. And the work of doing that was one of the highlights.